Hello and a very warm welcome to this short video all about how you can help your students to develop a growth mindset. I have got 6 short phrases to share with you that if you use as a practitioner in the classroom, hopefully they'll go some way to help your students develop and apply their growth mindset in their learning. A little bit about me first of all. I am Louise Traherne, Director of Character Education at Role Models. My role is I help create the content of our courses in life skills. My background is in teaching. I was a primary school teacher for 12 years in an independent school in London, and I spent 5 of those as a senior deputy head. I'm also a qualified coach, so alongside my work at Role Models, I'm actively coaching children, teenagers, parents and adults, really to help them be their best version of themselves. A little bit firstly just about Role Models, to briefly explain what we do. We are an education provider focusing on social and emotional well-being and what we like to call dynamic thinking. And we focus on the types of life skills that we know young people really need in order to thrive in life rather than just survive. And we know these types of skills really matter when it comes to at school, at home, and preparing them for their future workplace. So the types of skills we focus on include things such as resilience, leadership skills, collaboration, and creative problem solving. How we do it is we deliver a whole range of online and in-person offline courses to children between the ages of 3 to 15 years old. So a growth mindset, it's a huge part of what we do at Role Models, and I'm sure as an educator it features heavily in your work in the classroom too. Let's just begin by going back to the beginning and thinking about what a growth mindset is. A fixed mindset is when we believe that our intelligence and our talent is fixed at birth and there's very little we can do to change that. And if that's the mindset I have as a learner, I'm very unlikely to want to take risks, because if I feel I'm no good at maths, I feel that there's very little I can do to change that. Whereas the opposite is a growth mindset, and this is when I understand that my intelligence, my ability and talent can go up and down. It's not fixed at birth, and the thing that really impacts my increase in my intelligence and ability is my effort. So the more I try, the more effort I put in, the more I'll see of that. Now, if this is my mindset, I'm far more likely to want to take risks with my learning. I'm far more likely to understand that if I make mistakes, that's part of my learning journey. And I think mindset is incredibly important when it comes to your students in your classroom. And what I've got here is a table that just tracks mindset alongside achievement. And I think for many of us as teachers and parents, we often fixate on those students who are maybe low attainment or achievement, and we know that they have a fixed mindset. So they sound like this here. I just can't do it. I really hate feeling this useless, but nothing I do makes a difference. And then of course we've got high achievers that have a fixed mindset. And the bit that we want all of our learners to get to ideally is this quadrant up here. And this is where we've got high achievers, but they also have a growth mindset. And they understand that they've developed their ability, they love to improve, and they know that they've got strategies to deal with any type of setback that might come along. Now, what I think is very interesting is, as well as these low achievers that have a fixed mindset, it's actually very easy to forget about the high achievers that have a fixed mindset. So these are your students who are academically doing well, but actually if we scratch beneath the surface, they have a very fixed mindset. And this is quite what I call a sort of dangerous place to be, because it sounds like this: I'm naturally good at this, I love this feeling of being successful, but crucially, I don't know what I would do if things go wrong. I've got no coping skills or backup plan, or, I crumble. And these are the students who, when they get that fail, that bad mark on an exam, or they don't get a university offer, they really do crumble. So what I'm suggesting today is think about ways that you can nudge all of your students further over to the growth mindset side. And I think for some students that might be that they're still low achieving, low attainment, but if they can be falling here instead of here in the fixed mindset, that's real progress for them. And then think about those high achieving students. Yes, they are academically doing well, but can you help to move them over to this quadrant here where they've not just got the high achievement, but they've also matched that with a growth mindset? So some phrases for you, I promised that you could use in the classroom to really help develop this type of growth mindset. So I've got 6 to share with you. Number 1 is show me the hard part. I think in my experience as a teacher, often students would come to me, put their hand up and say, I can't do this. This is too hard. It's too tricky. And when we come in and we say, show me the hard part, show me the bit that you're really struggling with, it forces that student to really identify, actually, it's not the whole piece that I'm struggling with. It's just this bit here. And by having that highlighted to them, it makes it seem a bit more manageable. It's not everything I'm struggling with. It's just this part. Number 2 is, this is a response that you can give, you're strengthening your neural pathways. Now that might seem like a bit of a mouthful, and it's probably more relevant for older students than younger ones. But in those moments when they say to you, this is tricky, this is hard, I don't get it, it feels too difficult, is to just really encourage them to embrace that feeling of being stuck. And if we can explain to our students that what's happening in that moment is a positive thing, you're strengthening your brain, it's stretching, it's growing, and perhaps talk to your students about neural pathways, that we have millions and billions of neural pathways in our brain. Some are strong for things that we do all the time, but some are very weak and some are not even formed yet. So perhaps when I as a teacher give you a brand new piece of work that you've never done before, it's no surprise that it might feel tricky. But through practicing and through struggling and making mistakes, what you're doing is you're strengthening that neural pathway in your brain. And for so many students, understanding the science and actually understanding what's going on in that moment can really help them. Number 3 is you haven't mastered it yet. What might help? I used to find in the classroom that when a student would say to me, I'm rubbish at this, I'm struggling, I can't do this, what they don't want to hear is a very patronising response of, don't be silly, you're acing it, you're doing really well. We need to actually be realistic and be real with them. So that's an opportunity for us to come in and say, I can see you're struggling, I can see you haven't mastered it, but we crucially use that word yet. Okay, so I can see you haven't mastered this yet. So they feel seen, they feel validated. But we come in with that second part and simply ask them what might help. And here we're trying to help them build up their own arsenal of strategies. When I feel stuck, what can I do? Yes, I can ask my teacher, but are there other strategies I can use? Can I check somewhere else? Can I talk to a learning partner? So come in with that response. I can see you haven't mastered it yet. What might help? Let's talk about what next step strategies you could use. Number 4 is that phrase, remember when. It's such an effective phrase to use. If we think again to those moments when your students are finding something hard, and I don't just mean hard academically, I mean in any different context, you as their teacher are probably someone that knows them as well as anybody else does. So use that knowledge and reflect it back to them. Remember earlier on in the academic year when you felt this way about fractions, and look at you now. You did the work, you got through that, and now you understand it. And what we're doing here is we're reminding our student of their capability, of their resilience, of their ability to push through. And when they remember those skills that they used before, it hopefully might give them that impetus to keep going in the current moment. Number 5 is a slightly different one. This is when we can say, I think two things are true here. Now, I find this very effective for teachers and for parents. When your student or child is struggling with something, maybe they've become particularly frustrated, maybe they are upset about something, they're having a big emotional response. What we need to do in that moment is we need to validate and recognise how they feel, but also give them a way out, something to help. So what we can do is we can say, do you know what? I think two things are true here. Let's imagine a student has got a mark in a test that they're very unhappy with. Okay, we can come in and we can say, I think two things are true here. You've got 1 out of 20 and I can see that's really upsetting for you. That's the first thing that's true. But the second thing I know is true is you are incredibly hardworking and you are really great at making progress with your maths. And I know that you are more than capable next week of increasing that score. Okay, so we recognise both things. If I take another example, in an art lesson, maybe our student is frustrated because they've knocked over a pot of water all over their beautiful painting that they've done. We can come in and say, do you know what? I think two things are true here. You've knocked over the water and you feel like your painting is ruined. I see that. I hear you. I also know that you are more than capable of doing another fantastic painting, given the time and the resources. Okay, so try that one out. I think two things are true. And then finally, number 6, feedback can help you get better, and getting better is more important than being good. Now, I love this one because for me, teaching students to accept feedback is a real gift. So many students see feedback as a personal criticism, basically that they've made a mistake and they've done something wrong. And for us to help them accept that feedback is part of life, as teachers we get feedback all the time, constantly, we're all receiving feedback and we should be open to it. And equally, so many children believe that if they can't do something well first time, that's a failure on them. And actually what we want to teach them is we're not looking for perfection, we're looking for progress. And if we can help link feedback to progress for them, it will allow them to be much more open to it. So remind them that feedback is the key that helps us get better. And actually no one's looking at us to be perfect straight away. What we're looking for is that you're capable of making progress and getting better at something. And let's talk about why that's so satisfying. It's the journey. It's the progression that we make. If we could just do everything straight away, easily, where would the satisfaction in that be? So really open up that dialogue around feedback. I hope that those 6 phrases have been helpful. I certainly used to use them a lot in the classroom when I was teaching, and I hope you find them useful in your practice too. If you'd like to know more about role models and what we do, please take a moment to look at our website. You can follow us on Instagram, and of course, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to get in touch. Thank you.